Have you ever heard about an alien encounter and thought, nah, this is bullshit? Or you came across an alien encounter with some evidence supporting it and thought, this seems plausible. Today we're going to go through the most interesting alien encounters. We'll start by discussing claims with little to no proof and then move on to alien encounters supported by a lot of credible evidence, making them very difficult to disprove. So let's get started. The Alien Autopsy Film. The Alien Autopsy film, released in 1995 and presented by London-based entrepreneur Ray Stantilli, is a 17-minute black and white film that purportedly shows a secret medical examination or autopsy of an alien conducted by the United States military. Santilli initially claimed it was an authentic autopsy of an extraterrestrial being recovered from the 1947 Roswell UFO incident. This film gained widespread attention when Fox Television broadcasted it in the United States under the title Alien Autopsy, Fact or Fiction, hosted by Jonathan Frakes. The program caused a sensation, with Time magazine comparing its impact to that of the Zapruder film. However, in 2006, Santilli admitted that the film was not authentic, but rather a staged reconstruction of the deteriorated footage he claimed to have viewed in 1992. The existence of the original film strip has never been independently verified. Numerous experts, including Oscar-winning special effects makeup artist Stan Winston and cinematographer Alan DeVue, weighed in on the film's authenticity, but opinions were divided. Santilli's admission in 2006 shed light on the film's true nature, revealing it as a constructed hoax involving dummy alien bodies and fabricated artifacts, and even a hired actor to play the role of the cameraman. The Roswell Slides. The Roswell incident of 1947 is a well-known event that took place near Roswell, New Mexico. It became the epicenter of a conspiracy theory involving UFOs and extraterrestrials. The incident unfolded at a time when the United States and other countries were caught up in the flying saucer craze, with numerous reports of strange objects in the sky that people claimed were alien spacecraft. In this context, a rancher named W. W. Brazel stumbled upon unusual debris on his property in June 1947, including tinfoil, rubber strips, and sticks. Brazel reported his discovery to the local authorities, who, in turn, contacted the Roswell Army Airfield. The Roswell Army Airfield, the RAAF, issued a sensational press release announcing the recovery of a flying disc from the ranch. This announcement immediately captured the attention of the media, and on July 8, 1947, the Roswell Daily Record ran a headline proclaiming, "Roswell Army Airfield captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region." However, the military stance quickly changed. They reversed their initial statement, claiming that the debris was not from a UFO, but from a weather balloon carrying a radar target. This sudden shift in the official explanation fueled skepticism and conspiracy theories. Many people, including Brazel, were unconvinced that the debris was from a weather balloon, and doubts persisted. In 1980, Charles Berlitz and William L. Moore published a book titled The Roswell Incident, which challenged the weather balloon explanation. They suggested that the original debris was from a crashed flying saucer and that the military had concocted a cover story. While the book was controversial and widely disputed, it reignited interest in the Roswell incident and led to the proliferation of conspiracy theories and hoaxes. In 1997, the Air Force released a report titled The Roswell Report, Case Closed, which proposed that civilian witnesses had combined memories of separate events, including Project Mogul materials, parachute crash test dummies, an injured airman parachutist, and charred bodies from a 1950s airplane crash. Despite these official explanations, the Roswell incident continues to be a focal point for UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists. Billy Meier's UFO photos. Edward Albert Meyer, commonly known as Billy Meyer, is a controversial figure in the field of UFOs and extraterrestrial contact. He founded a UFO religion called the Freie Interessengemeinschaft für Grenz- und Geisteswissenschaften und Ufologie-Studien. Meyer claims to have had contact with extraterrestrial beings known as the Plejaren, and has presented various materials related to his alleged encounters. Meyer's alleged extraterrestrial encounters began at a young age, with claims of meeting an elderly Plejaren named Svath when he was 5 years old. After Svath's death in 1953, Meyer asserted that he communicated with an extraterrestrial woman named Asket. Contact ceased in 1964, but resumed in 1975 when he met Semyaze, the granddaughter of Svath, and another Plejaren named Ptah. Meyer founded a non-profit organization based on his contacts, known as FIGU. One of the most notable aspects of Meyer's claims is his collection of photographs and films depicting alleged alien spacecraft, which he called beam ships from the Plejaren. He claims to have received permission from the Plejaren to document their visitations for evidence. These photographs and films depict UFOs in the Swiss countryside and scenes from their non-earthly vantage points. In interviews with author Gary Kinder, Meyer admitted to using models to recreate scenes, indicating that some of his photographs may have been hoaxed. His wife, Calliope, also stated that the photos were of spaceship models crafted from household objects, and the women depicted as extraterrestrials were actually members of the Gold Diggers, a singing and dancing troupe. The Pascagoula Abduction. The Pascagoula abduction is an alleged UFO abduction incident that unfolded on the evening of October 11th, 1973 in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The key figures in this case were Charles Hickson, age 42 at the time, and Calvin Parker, who was 19 years old. They reported their findings to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, claiming that while fishing on the west bank of Pascagoula River, they heard a strange whirring and whizzing sound. Their attention was drawn to two flashing blue lights in the sky, which were followed by the appearance of an oval-shaped object, estimated to be 30 or 40 feet in diameter and 8 to 10 feet in height. According to their accounts, they felt paralyzed and were taken aboard the UFO by three unusual beings with features such as robotic slit mouths and crab-like pincers, where they underwent examinations. Following the alleged abduction, Charles Hickson became a public figure and engaged in various UFO-related activities. He gave interviews and lectures about his experience and even appeared on television, including an episode of the game show To Tell the Truth. In 1974, Hickson claimed to have had additional encounters with aliens and authorized a self-published book titled UFO Contact at Pascagoula. Calvin Parker also became involved in the UFO community, attending UFO conventions and founding a company called UFO Investigations in 1993, aiming to produce television stories about UFOs. Aviation journalist and UFO skeptic Philip J. Klass uncovered what he considered discrepancies in Hickson's story, and he noted that Hickson refused to undergo a polygraph examination conducted by an experienced examiner. Klass ultimately concluded that the case was a hoax. Investigator Joe Nickell echoed these doubts, suggesting that Hickson's behavior was questionable and speculating the encounter may have been a product of a hypnagogic waking dream state. Nickell also pointed out that Calvin Parker initially told the police that he passed out at the beginning of the incident, raising questions about the reliability of his account. Cash Landrum Incident. On the evening of December 29, 1980, Betty Cash, Vicki Landrum, and Vicky's grandson Colby Landrum were driving home in Betty Cash's car in Dayton, Texas after dining out. They claimed that around 9 p.m. while driving on an isolated two-lane road through dense woods, they noticed a light above the trees. Initially, they thought it might be an approaching airplane bound for Houston Intercontinental Airport, which was approximately 35 miles away, and paid little attention to it. A few minutes later, as they continued driving on the winding roads, they observed something they believed to be the same light, but now much closer and brighter. They described it as coming from a huge diamond-shaped object hovering at about treetop level. The base of the object was emitting flames and significant heat. Vicki Landrum, a devout Christian, interpreted the object as a religious sign and instructed Betty Cash to stop the car out of fear of getting burned. Cash and Landrum claimed they got out of the car to examine the object while Colby remained inside, terrified. They reported feeling intense heat, and Cash had to use her coat to protect her hand from burning a door handle when she got back inside the car. The object they described as intensely bright, dull metallic silver, shaped like an upright diamond with a flat top and bottom. Small blue lights encircled the center, and flames periodically shot out from the bottom, creating a cone-like effect. The object appeared to move up and down as the flames dissipated and ignited again. After the UFO and helicopters left the scene, Cash, Landrum, and Colby claimed to have experienced similar symptoms, including nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, weakness, a burning sensation in their eyes, and a sensation similar to sunburn. Betty Cash's health deteriorated significantly over the following days, with large, painful blisters forming on her skin. She was eventually hospitalized, and her condition did not improve significantly. Vicki Landrum and Colby Landrum also suffered from lingering health issues, including weakness, skin sores, and hair loss. In subsequent years, Vicki Landrum developed a cataract in one of her eyes. The incident led to legal action, with Cash and Landrum suing U.S. federal government for $20 million. However, the case was dismissed in 1986. Investigations into the incident found no definitive evidence linking the helicopters to any branch of the U.S. military. The Allagash Abductions. The Allagash Abductions is a fascinating and continuous UFO encounter and abduction story that unfolded in August 1976 in the heart of the Allagash Wilderness in Maine. The key players in this tale are four friends: Jack and Jim Wehner, Chuck Rack, and Charlie Fultz. These four men embarked on a 2-week camping expedition into the remote wilderness seeking adventure and relaxation. Little did they know that their journey would lead to a series of perplexing and eerie events. The initial encounter occurred on the second night of their camping trip when Jim Wehner spotted an anomalous, bright object in the sky. This peculiar object appeared for a brief moment, then disappeared, leaving the group bewildered. However, it was on the night of August 20th that their lives took a profoundly strange turn. While out fishing in a boat, they once again encountered the luminous object, which was described as being as radiant as the sun. In an attempt to communicate with this mysterious presence, Charlie Foltz signaled SOS using a flashlight. What happened next would forever haunt their memories. The object responded by emitting a blinding light and began to pursue their boat across the water. Overwhelmed by fear, they paddled hastily back to shore, but their memories went dark at this point. They were confounded to discover that the campfire they had set before the fishing trip had burned down entirely, suggesting that they had been absent for an extended period. Their inexplicable fatigue added to their confusion. The story took a significant turn in 1988 when Jack and Jim Weiner began experiencing recurring nightmares involving feelings of fear and vulnerability. These nightmares prompted Jim to contact UFO researcher Ray Fowler, seeking answers to the inexplicable horrors that plagued their dreams. The four men decided to undergo hypnosis separately to uncover buried memories, and what they revealed during these sessions were nothing short of chilling. They recounted being subjected to medical examinations, including the taking of skin and bodily fluid samples. Descriptions of the aliens' appearances and their procedures were deeply unsettling. These revelations only deepened the mystery surrounding their experience. To lend credibility to their claims, the four men underwent a polygraph examinations, which they all passed. However, their accounts faced skepticism from various quarters. Dr. William Cole, among others, raised doubts about the authenticity of their stories. Some skeptics posited that their memories could have been influenced by prevalent depictions of alien abductions in movies and TV shows. In a surprising turn of events in 2016, Chuck Rack admitted that the abduction part of their narrative had been fabricated, and he had gone along with it for financial gain. However, he did acknowledge witnessing a series of strange lights during their camping trip, lending to a modicum of credibility to their initial UFO sightings. Coin helicopter encounter. On the evening of October 18, 1973, at approximately 10:30 p.m., a U.S. Army Reserve helicopter departed from Port Columbus, Ohio, bound for its home base at Cleveland Hopkins Airport, a distance of 96 nautical miles to the north-northeast. The crew included Captain Lawrence J. Coyne, who had 19 years of flying experience at the helm, First Lieutenant Arrigo Jezzi as the co-pilot, Sergeant John Healy as the flight medic, and Sergeant Robert Yanaksek as the crew chief. The night was clear, calm, and starry, with a rising quarter moon. About 10 miles south of Mansfield, Ohio, the crew noticed a single red light to the west, initially not considered relevant. However, another red light on the southeast horizon soon captured their attention. As this light appeared to turn towards the helicopter, Captain Coyne initiated a powered descent. Radio contact with Mansfield Control Tower was established, but then failed. The red light continued to approach, eventually halting in a hovering position in front of the helicopter. Described as cigar-shaped with a gray metallic-looking structure, it emitted a red light at the bow, a white light at the stern, and a green directional spotlight. After a brief hovering period, the object accelerated westward and departed the area, leaving the crew perplexed. Ground witnesses corroborated some aspects of the encounter. Detailed analysis ruled out conventional explanations, leaving the incident as an unexplained and well-documented UFO encounter involving military personnel, highlighting the enigmatic nature of such phenomena. The Lubbock Lights. The Lubbock Lights incident of 1951 captured the attention of the nation, as unusual formations of light were observed over the city of Lubbock, Texas, during the months of August and September. The incident was widely reported as a UFO sighting and drew the interest of the U.S. Air Force, who conducted an investigation into the phenomenon through their Project Blue Book program. According to Edward J. Ruppelt, who was in charge of Project Blue Book at the time, all of the sightings except one picked up on radar were officially classified as unknowns, meaning they couldn't really be explained. The initial sightings were reported by three professors from the Texas Technological College, now Texas Tech University, on August 25, 1951. These professors, identified as A.G. Oberg, W.L. Ducker, and W.I. Robinson, were sitting in a backyard when they observed a group of 20 to 30 bright lights flying overhead. These lights were described as being as bright as stars but larger in size, and they immediately ruled out meteors as a possible explanation. As they discussed their sighting, a second group of similar lights flew overhead, adding to their intrigue. On September 5, 1951, the professors, along with E. Richard Heinemann and another Texas Tech professor, were again in Robinson's yard when they saw the lights fly overhead. Grayson Mead, one of the professors, described the lights as being about the size of a dinner plate, greenish blue and slightly fluorescent. They appeared to be circular and gave the witnesses an eerie feeling. Mead noted that these lights couldn't have been birds, but they moved so fast that the observers wished they could have had a better look. They also witnessed one formation of lights flying above a thin cloud at an estimated altitude of 2,000 feet, allowing them to calculate that the lights were traveling at a staggering speed of over 600 miles per hour. One of the most famous aspects of the Lubbock Lights incident was the photographs taken by Carl Hart Jr., a student at Texas Tech on August 30th, 1951. Hart captured 5 photos of a formation of 18 to 20 white lights arranged in a V shape as they flew overhead. These photographs gained significant attention and were even analyzed by the physics laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Ruppelt stated the photos were never proven to be a hoax, but neither were they definitively proven to be genuine. Ruppelt's investigation suggested a potential explanation for the lights, migrating plovers reflecting the new streetlights installed in Lubbock in 1951. Witnesses reported seeing birds flying over the city's streetlights with their undersides reflecting the light. However, this explanation was met with skepticism from some witnesses, including the professors who believed the lights were too large and fast to be birds. They also argued that the lights didn't match the appearance and behavior of birds. The Lubbock Lights incident also included reports of a flying wing aircraft seen over Lubbock. Witnesses, including the wife of one of the professors, claimed to have observed a huge, soundless flying wing. Ruppelt knew that the U.S. Air Force had a flying wing jet bomber in its inventory, but was perplexed by the fact that the witnesses reported no sound associated with the aircraft. Despite investigations and proposed explanations, no single conclusive answer has been reached to explain the unusual lights. The Solway Firth Spaceman. On May 23, 1964, Jim Templeton, a firefighter from Carlisle, England, decided to take his family on a day trip to Bruff Marsh, situated near Bruff by Sands, overlooking the Solway Firth in Cumberland. It was a seemingly ordinary day, and Templeton brought along his camera to capture some photographs of his daughter Elizabeth, who was only 5 years old at the time. Templeton took 3 photographs of his daughter while they were on the marshes, with no one else around except for a couple of elderly women sitting in a car at the far end of the marsh. These photographs were meant to be simple mementos of their family outing. However, the third photograph turned out to be anything but ordinary. Upon developing the film, Jim Templeton was shocked to discover what had appeared to be a figure in the background of the photograph. This figure seemed to be wearing a spacesuit and stood behind his daughter. Templeton insisted that he did not see anyone dressed like that when he took the photograph. The image was authenticated by analysts at Kodak, confirming that it was genuine and not a result of tampering. This mysterious photograph gained significant attention and publicity at the time, being widely reproduced in newspapers. It also caught the interest of ufologists who saw it as potential evidence of extraterrestrial activity. One of the most notable explanations for this spaceman figure came from journalist David Clark in 2014. Clark proposed that the figure was most likely Templeton's wife, Annie, who had been present at the time and had appeared in other photographs taken that day. According to Clark, Templeton's camera had limited visibility through the viewfinder, allowing only 70% of the frame to be seen. Annie Templeton was wearing a pale blue dress that day, which might have appeared partially overexposed as white in another photo. She also had dark bobbed hair. By using photo software to darken the image and straighten the horizon, the figure increasingly appeared to be a regular person viewed from behind, rather than a mysterious spaceman. Jim Templeton maintained his position that he had not seen the figure at the time the photograph was taken, and that it was not a fake. The photograph had become a subject of intense interest, and Templeton claimed to have received thousands of letters from people around the world with various ideas and theories about the figure in the background. Additionally, Templeton claimed that he was visited by 2 unidentified men who identified themselves as government agents. These men took Templeton to the site where the photos were taken, but when he explained that he had not seen the figure at the time, they became angry and left. McMinnville UFO Photographs. The McMinnville UFO photographs, also known as the Trent UFO photos, are a set of pictures taken by a farming couple, Paul and Evelyn Trent, near McMinnville, Oregon on May 11, 1950. These photographs have gained considerable attention and controversy in the realm of UFO sightings and remain among the most famous UFO photographs ever taken. On that day, Evelyn Trent was walking back to her farmhouse after feeding her rabbits and noticed a slow-moving metallic disc-shaped object in the sky heading towards her from the northeast. She called her husband Paul, who also saw the object. Paul went inside their house to retrieve a camera and managed to take 2 photos of the object before it quickly flew away to the west. Even Paul's father briefly witnessed the object before it disappeared. The Trent's account of the incident remained consistent over the years, with one minor variation in which Evelyn Trent mentioned that they had been in the backyard when they both saw the object and realized the camera was in the house. The roll of film in the Trent's camera was not completely used up, so they did not immediately develop the film. It was not until May 14, 1950, when the remaining frames were used for family photographs on Mother's Day, that they decided to have the film developed. Initially, they thought the object might be a secret military aircraft and were hesitant to share the photos widely. However, Paul Trent eventually mentioned his sighting and showed the photographs to his banker, Frank Wortman, who found them intriguing enough to display them in his bank window in McMinnville. This led to local newspaper reporter Bill Powell convincing Paul Trent to loan him the negatives. Powell examined the negatives and found no evidence of tampering or fakery. On June 8, 1950, Powell's story, accompanied by 2 photos, was published as a front-page story in the McMinnville Telephone Register with the headline reading, "At long last, authentic photographs of flying saucer?" The story and photos were subsequently picked up by the International News Service, INS, which distributed them to newspapers nationwide. Life magazine published cropped versions of the photos on June 26, 1950, further increasing their exposure. The Trents were promised that the negatives would be returned, but Life magazine claimed to have misplaced them. They never sought money or notoriety from the photos, and they continued to insist on the authenticity of their sighting until their deaths in the mid-1990s. In 1967, the negatives of the Trent photos were discovered in the files of the United Press International, UPI. Hartman was impressed by the Trent's sincerity and concluded that the photos were consistent with an extraordinary flying object, suggesting they were not hoaxed. In the 1970s, the negatives were found again, this time by Bruce Maccabee, an optical physicist and ufologist. Maccabee conducted his own analysis and concluded that the photographs were not hoaxes and showed a real physical object in the sky. However, over the years, skeptics such as Philip J. Klass and Robert Schaefer argued that the photos were faked. They pointed to the shadows on the garage in the images, which suggested the photos were taken in the morning, not in the early evening as the Trents claimed. Klass and Schaefer also believed that the objects could have been a small model hanging from power lines or a detached side view mirror of a vehicle. In 2013, some researchers claimed to have detected a thread above the object in the photos, suggesting it was a model suspended from a wire. Betz Sphere. In the spring of 1974, the Betz family embarked on what would become an extraordinary journey of mystery. While investigating a small bushfire near their residence on Fort George Island, Florida, they stumbled upon a peculiar and seemingly out-of-place object, a small metal sphere roughly the size of a bowling ball. Initially, the family thought it might be a discarded cannonball from centuries past, a relic from the era of New World conquistadors. Little did they know that this unassuming sphere would spark a wave of curiosity that would last for years. The first inkling that something unusual was afoot came when Terry Betz, the son of the family, was playing his guitar near the sphere. To their astonishment, the sphere seemed to respond to the music, emitting a throbbing noise, almost as if it were resonating with the sound. It was a behavior that defied explanation and piqued the family's interest even further. As days passed, the Betz family began to observe even more baffling behavior from the sphere. It started to move on its own, spontaneously rolling across the floor and changing direction without any apparent external force. This was no mere optical illusion. It was a tangible phenomenon that perplexed the family members. Terry Betz, in particular, took a keen interest in studying this object. Terry's experiments with the sphere revealed additional mysteries. When he struck the sphere with a hammer, it produced a distinct reverberation, further deepening the intrigue surrounding its properties. Shaking the sphere and then placing it on the ground also resulted in it moving on its own. It seemed to defy the laws of physics, offering no straightforward explanation for its behavior. Perhaps the most perplexing aspect of the Betz sphere was its apparent sentience. The family claimed that it would follow them around their house, seemingly of its own accord. It was as if the sphere had a mind of its own, responding to their presence and movements. However, as with many mysteries, attempts to understand the Betz sphere eventually led to a more rational and less sensational explanation. In 2012, an analysis posited that the sphere might have been a Bell and Howell ball check valve, a mundane industrial component. The size, weight, and metallurgical composition of the sphere reportedly matched those of the company's valve. The revelation cast doubt on the notion of the sphere having extraterrestrial or paranormal origins. Furthermore, an examination of the sphere's movement raised the possibility that the uneven stone floors of the Betz home could account for its rolling and changing direction. It became increasingly plausible that the sphere's behavior was not a result of otherworldly forces, but rather a consequence of its physical characteristics and the environment in which it was kept. Varginha UFO Incident. The Varginha UFO incident, which unfolded in 1996 in Varginha, Brazil, involved a series of peculiar events and claims made by local residents. Witnesses described encountering a creature with a large head, red eyes, and peculiar skin features. Rumors about these sightings spread rapidly, accompanied by reports of government trucks and personnel in the vicinity, unusual animal behavior, and even allegations of a woman being impregnated by an extraterrestrial. An official inquiry conducted by the Brazilian military in 2010 concluded that the initial witness had encountered a mentally unstable homeless man known as Mundinho. The military dismissed claims of alien creatures and reported that other supposed aliens were an expectant couple with dwarfism. Skeptics criticized the sensationalized media coverage and ufologists' claims, suggesting that the incident lacks substantial evidence of extraterrestrial involvement. The incident also received media attention, including documentaries, a video game, and a comic book, contributing to its enduring legacy in popular culture. 1996, a 2020 film, revisits the event in a horror documentary style. The Tinley Park Lights. The Tinley Park Lights, also known as Tinley Park UFO sightings, refers to a series of UFO sightings in Tinley Park, Illinois during the summer of 2004. These sightings gained attention due to their large number of witnesses and the nature of reported sightings. The sightings occurred on the evenings of August 21st, 22nd, and 23rd in 2004. Witnesses reported seeing clusters of orange and red lights in the night sky, forming various patterns and moving erratically. Some witnesses claimed to have seen up to 10 or more lights at a time, while others reported seeing as few as 3. The lights were often described as bright and glowing orbs that would hover, change formation, and occasionally vanish and reappear. One notable aspect of these sightings was the large number of witnesses who came forward to report the phenomenon. It's estimated that hundreds of people in Tinley Park and nearby areas witnessed the lights over the course of those 3 evenings. Additionally, some witnesses captured the lights on video, further fueling interest of the sightings. Various explanations were proposed for the Tinley Park lights. Skeptics suggested that the lights could be attributed to Chinese lanterns or other conventional objects, while UFO enthusiasts believe the lights might be of extraterrestrial origin. Official investigations, including those by local law enforcement and aviation authorities, did not produce a conclusive explanation for this phenomenon. Black Triangle Sightings. Black Triangle sightings pertain to a reoccurring phenomenon involving the observation of large triangular-shaped unidentified flying objects in various regions worldwide. These sightings are characterized by distinctive features, primarily the equilateral or isosceles triangular shape of the UFOs, often adorned with lights at each of the 3 corners. Witnesses consistently report several key elements in black triangle sightings. The observed craft are typically described as sizable, silent, and slow-moving entities, exhibiting an absence of engine noise that sets them apart from conventional aircraft. Notably, lights are a prominent feature, with reports indicating lights at the triangular corners, sometimes including a central light source. These lights can vary in color and intensity, and are often mentioned in conjunction with the ability to manipulate them, such as turning them on or off. Black triangles tend to fly at relatively low altitudes, occasionally just above treetop levels, and they are frequently seen moving slowly and smoothly, occasionally hovering or remaining stationary. Multiple witnesses are common in these sightings, reinforcing the credibility of the accounts. The Kaikoura Lights. The Kaikoura Lights, a term coined by the New Zealand media, refer to a series of UFO sightings that took place in December 1978 above the Kaikoura mountain ranges in the northeastern part of New Zealand's South Island. The sightings commenced on December 21st when the crew of a Safe Air Limited cargo aircraft observed a UFO around their aircraft. A very large UFO with 5 white flashing lights appeared to follow the aircraft, disappearing and reappearing at different locations. Witnesses claimed to have seen small discs dropping from the UFO. Some lights were described as the size of a house, while others were smaller but intensely flashing. Both air traffic controller radar in Wellington and the aircraft's onboard radar detected these objects. On December 30th, 1978, an Australian television crew filming background footage for a network show about the sightings observed unidentified lights for extended periods during their flights to Christchurch. These lights were witnessed by 5 people on the flight deck, tracked by Wellington air traffic controllers, and filmed in color by the television crew. One object even followed the aircraft nearly until landing. The cargo plane took off again with the television crew still aboard, heading for Blenheim. At about 2,000 feet, they encountered what appeared to be a large lighted orb, which flew alongside the cargo aircraft for almost a quarter of an hour. This incident was documented on film, witnessed, tracked on aircraft radar, and recorded on tape by the TV film crew. Following the initial sightings, additional reports of UFO sightings emerged, and the Royal New Zealand Air Force, along with other authorities, conducted an investigation. The results of this investigation were archived in the National Archives in Wellington. The New Zealand Ministry of Defence attributed the sightings to various causes, including lights from squid boats reflecting off the clouds, unburnt meteors, or lights from celestial bodies such as Venus, as well as terrestrial sources such as trains and cars. Declassified documents from the CIA, based on investigations after dispatching a Lockheed P-3 Orion to the area, described the Kaikoura light sightings as unique among civilian UFO reports due to the substantial documentary evidence available. This evidence included the accounts of 7 witnesses, 2 tape recordings made during the sightings, a detection of unusual ground and airplane radar targets, and a 16mm color movie. Betty Andreasson Abduction. The Betty Andreasson UFO abduction case, unfolding on that fateful night in South Ashburnham, Massachusetts in 1967, stands as one of the most enduring mysteries in the annals of UFO encounters. Betty Andreasson, as well as her extended family, included 7 children and her parents, found themselves at an epicenter of the series of bizarre events. It all began with a peculiar interruption in the household's electricity, followed by an eerie reddish light that pierced their kitchen window. As Betty's father attempted to investigate the source, his shock intensified as he witnessed the five otherworldly beings, each with a distinct appearance, pear-shaped heads, wide eyes, small noses and ears, and slit-like mouths approaching the house, seemingly moving through solid objects like doors. These beings, resembling nothing from the human realm, communicated telepathically and conveyed a sense of calm and reassurance to Betty amidst the family's fear. These aliens, adorned in blue coveralls with a bird emblem on their sleeves, had three-fingered hands and floated rather than walked. They placed Betty's children in a state of suspended animation, but made sure she understood they were unharmed. Betty was then escorted outside to a waiting UFO, roughly 20 feet in diameter, of the classic flying saucer design. She believed this craft joined a larger mothership, where she underwent physical examinations and experienced the effects of strange equipment. However, the most profound aspects of her ordeal came during the peculiar tests that initially caused pain, but ultimately led to a transformative, almost religious experience. Approximately 4 hours later, Betty was returned to her home by two of the beings, where she found her family still in the suspended state. One of the extraterrestrial entities remained behind, seemingly monitoring her family. After releasing the family from their trance-like condition, the aliens eventually departed. Betty later revealed that the beings had hypnotized her to suppress her memories of the encounter until a future time, and initially she interpreted the event in a religious context due to her strong Christian beliefs. It wasn't until later that she began to consider the incident as potentially of alien origin. 8 years passed before Betty's account received attention when she responded to an advertisement by Dr. J. Allen Hynek, a prominent figure in the study of UFO phenomena. Her story was initially met with skepticism due to its unusual nature, but in January 1997, a comprehensive investigation was conducted, involving experts from various fields, including hypnosis and psychiatry. The results were remarkable. Betty and her daughter, under regressive hypnosis, provided consistent and detailed accounts of their UFO experience. The investigation concluded that both individuals were of sound mind and genuinely believed in the accuracy of their statements. The Voronezh UFO Incident. The Voronezh UFO incident of 1989, as reported by the Soviet news agency, involved a group of children playing football in a city park near Voronezh, Russia. According to their accounts, they witnessed a series of unusual events, including the sightings of a pink glow in the sky, followed by the appearance of a deep red ball approximately 3 meters in diameter. This mysterious object circled, disappeared, and then reappeared minutes later, hovering in the sky. The children claimed to have seen a three-eyed alien wearing bronze-colored boots with a chest disc, as well as a robot emerging from the object. According to their testimony, the alien used a ray gun to make a 16-year-old boy vanish until the object departed. While the children were the primary witnesses, Lieutenant Sergei A. Matviev of the Voronezh District Police Station claimed to have seen a body flying in the sky. The Interior Ministry even mentioned the possibility of dispatching troops to the area if the object reappeared. The incident received widespread media attention in the Soviet Union, and even a private company capitalizing on the story by offering tours of Voronezh as the land of the aliens. However, skepticism and alternative explanations arose. Some scientists suggested that the scorched ground near South Moscow, initially thought to be a UFO landing site, might have been caused by a haystack igniting. Additionally, claims of extraterrestrial rock found at the site were debunked by scientists who identified them as a common hematite found in the Soviet Union. Maurice mass sighting. The Maurice mass sighting, also known as the, and I'm going to butcher this, Rencontre de Valensole, is a famous UFO encounter that took place on July 1st, 1965 in Valensole, Alpes-de-Haute-Provence, France. Maurice Masse, a French farmer, claimed to have had a close encounter with a UFO and its occupants on that day. According to Masse's account, he was working in his lavender field when he noticed a spherical vehicle, which he described as a UFO, landing nearby. He claimed to have seen two small beings about 4 feet tall near the craft. One of the beings allegedly pointed a tube-like object at him, causing him to become paralyzed. Mass reported that he observed the beings examining plants and making grunting sounds before returning to their craft and flying away. He also claimed to have received some form of communication from the beings, which he considered a spiritual experience. He believed the site where the encounter occurred was hallowed ground and insisted that it should remain in his family forever. Travis Walton abduction. Travis Walton, an American forestry worker, claimed to have been abducted by extraterrestrial beings while he was part of a logging crew in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. Walton went missing for a period of 5 days and 6 hours, during which a massive search operation was conducted. The incident began when Walton and his crew reported encountering a mysterious, luminous object while driving in a forested area. According to the witnesses, Walton exited the vehicle and approached the object, at which point he was struck by a beam of light and lost consciousness. When he awoke, he claimed to find himself in a hospital-like room surrounded by three short, bald creatures. After a struggle with these beings, he was led by a human-looking individual with a helmet to another room, where he blacked out once more. Walton later claimed that he regained consciousness alongside a highway, with the unidentified flying object departing from the scene. The case gained significant attention, especially after Walton and his fellow crew members underwent a polygraph test administered by the National Enquirer and the Aerial Phenomenon Research Organization. Walton and most of the crew reportedly passed these tests, which added to the publicity surrounding the case. In more recent years, Travis Walton appeared on various media platforms, including the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, to discuss his experience. Valentich disappearance. Valentich, a young Australian pilot with limited flying experience, reported an unidentified aircraft tailing him and engine trouble to Melbourne Air Traffic Control. However, it was his eerie declaration, "It's not an aircraft," that has fueled decades of speculation and debate. The subsequent search and rescue efforts involving both civilian and military assets covered an extensive area but yielded no trace of Valentich or his aircraft. An official investigation by the Australian Department of Transport could not determine the cause of the disappearance, but presumed it to be fatal. Some suggest that Valentich might have orchestrated his disappearance, considering the ample fuel in his Cessna 182 and absence of radar tracking, raising doubts about whether he ever reached Cape Otway. Reports of a light aircraft landing near Cape Otway at the same time as Valentich's disappearance added intrigue. Another theory proposes that Valentich became disoriented and flew upside down, mistaking the reflection of his own aircraft's light in the water for another craft, ultimately crashing into the sea. However, his Cessna's gravity-fed fuel system would have caused the engine to fail quickly in an inverted flight. In 2013, astronomers and pilots James Magaha and Joe Nickel reviewed audio transcripts and data, suggesting that Valentich, lacking experience, might have been deceived by an illusion of a tilted horizon. In trying to correct this perceived issue, he may have inadvertently entered a downward spiral, leading to the reported engine trouble and rough idling. On the other hand, ufologists have long speculated that extraterrestrial involvement played a role in Valentich's vanishing. They point to reports of erratic green lights and a steep dive, suggesting possible alien intervention. Ground Saucer Watch, based in the United States, even claimed that photographs taken by Roy Manifold on the same day as the disappearance showed a fast-moving object emerging from the water near Cape Otway Lighthouse. The Kecksburg UFO. The Kecksburg UFO incident occurred on December 9, 1965 at Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, when a fireball was reported by citizens of 6 U.S. states and Canada over Detroit, Michigan, and Windsor, Ontario. Astronomers said it was likely to have been a meteor bolide burning up in the atmosphere and descending at a steep angle. NASA released a statement in 2005 reporting that experts had examined fragments of the area and determined that they were of a Soviet satellite, but records of their findings were lost in 1987. NASA responded to the court orders and Freedom of Information Act requests to search for the records. The Tehran UFO. The Tehran UFO incident of September 1976 involves multiple witnesses, including Iranian Air Force personnel who observed a bright glowing object in the night sky over Tehran. 2 military jets were dispatched to intercept the object, which displayed erratic movements and emitted intense light. Radar operators also confirmed its presence. Notably, the pursuing jets experienced electronic malfunctions, but these issues ceased when they moved away from the UFO. The incident was officially investigated by Iranian authorities and remains one of the more credible UFO cases due to the involvement of trained military personnel in radar data, although it remains unexplained. The Ariel School UFO incident. The UFO sighting that occurred on September 16, 1994, outside Rua, Zimbabwe, is a notable case. 62 pupils at the Ariel School, aged between 6 and 12, reported seeing one or more silver craft descending from the sky and landing in a field near their school. Some of the children claimed that black-clad creatures approached them and communicated telepathically, delivering a message with an environmental theme, which frightened them and made them cry. Jerome Clark, a Fortean writer, referred to this incident as the most remarkable close encounter of the third kind of 1990s. However, some people have suggested that the incident may be explained by mass hysteria, and not all the children at the school that day claimed to have seen something. Nevertheless, several of those who did maintain their accounts of the incident are true. Barney and Betty Hill incident. The Hills reported being abducted by extraterrestrials in rural New Hampshire on September 19th through the 20th, 1961. Their story gained fame through the best-selling 1966 book, The Interrupted Journey, and the 1975 television film, The UFO Incident. Barney Hill, a postal worker and civil rights leader, and Betty Hill, a social worker and civil rights advocate, both played prominent roles in their community. Her detailed accounts of abduction and the star map Betty sketched have been the subject of much speculation and investigation in the field of ufology. Betty Hill's notes, tapes, and items related to the incident are preserved at the University of New Hampshire, and a historical marker now commemorates the site of the alleged craft's first approach. Chilean Navy UFO. The Chilean Navy UFO incident, also known as the 2014 CEFAA case, occurred on November 11, 2014, when a Chilean Navy helicopter, Airbus Cougar AS-532, was conducting a routine coastal patrol. During the flight, the crew observed an unidentified flying object in the vicinity. The object appeared as a flat, elongated structure with lights, and was flying at a constant speed and altitude. The crew attempted to communicate with the object using radio frequencies, but received no response. What makes this incident significant is that it was documented with both video and infrared footage, which was later declassified and released to the public. The video evidence captured by the helicopter's FLIR, forward-looking infrared camera, showed an object that appeared to be emitting a significant amount of heat. The incident was thoroughly investigated by the Committee for the Study of Anomalous Aerial Phenomenon, CEFAA, a Chilean government agency responsible for investigating UFO sightings. The committee could not identify the object and classified it as an Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, UAP. The Falcon Lake Incident. The Falcon Lake Incident, which occurred on May 20th, 1967 at Falcon Lake, Manitoba, Canada, is renowned as one of the most well-documented UFO cases in both Canadian and worldwide UFO lore. During the incident, an individual named Stephen McCalloch reported a close encounter with a UFO. McCalloch described the UFO landing near him, which emitted hot gas, causing him physical injuries when he approached it. This event prompted investigations by various Canadian authorities, including the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Royal Canadian Air Force, and other government departments, as well as American authorities such as the United States Air Force and the Aerial Phenomenon Research Organization. It was even scrutinized by the Condon Committee. To this day, the Falcon Lake incident remains a significant and thoroughly investigated UFO case, earning it the monikers of Canada's Best Documented UFO Case by CBC News and the World's Most Documented UFO Sighting by Atlas Obscura. The Chicago O'Hare UFO Sighting. The Chicago O'Hare UFO sighting on November 7, 2006 is a notable incident in UFO lore. Around 4:15 p.m., 12 United Airlines employees and several witnesses outside O'Hare International Airport reported a sudden sighting of an unidentified flying object. Witnesses described the object as a disc-shaped craft hovering over a gate at the airport. It was reported to have a grayish color and was observed for several minutes before suddenly shooting up into the sky at high speed, leaving a hole in the clouds. What makes this sighting intriguing is that it occurred at a major international airport and was witnessed by airline personnel. However, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, chose not to investigate the matter thoroughly and instead dismissed it as a weather phenomenon. The Rendlesham Forest Incident. The Rendlesham Forest Incident, which took place in December 1980 near Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, England, is a series of reported sightings and unexplained lights that became associated with UFO land. These events occurred just outside RAF Woodbridge, a base used at the time by the United States Air Force. Personnel from the USAF, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles I. Halt, reported seeing objects they described as UFOs. The incident, often referred to as Britain's Roswell, is one of the most famous UFO events in the United Kingdom and is well known globally. It has even been compared to the Roswell UFO incident in the United States. Despite its notoriety, the UK Ministry of Defence concluded that the event did not pose a threat to national security and therefore did not investigate it as a security matter. The WOW signal. The WOW signal, detected on August 15, 1977 by Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope, is a significant event in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The signal, originating from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, exhibited characteristics consistent with a potential extraterrestrial origin. Astronomer Jerry R. Emin discovered the signal a few days later while reviewing recorded data. He was so struck by its uniqueness that he circled the reading of the signal's intensity, 6EQUJ5, and wrote WOW next to it, which gave the event its name. Remarkably, the entire signal sequence lasted for a full 72-second window during which Big Ear observed it, but has never been detected again, despite numerous subsequent attempts by Emin and others. Various hypotheses have been proposed to explain its origins, including natural and human-made sources, but none have provided a satisfactory explanation. Despite lacking detectable modulation, a method used to transmit information over radio waves, it remains one of the most compelling candidates for an extraterrestrial radio transmission ever recorded, fueling the ongoing quest for signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. The Go Fast video. The Go Fast video, part of a series of declassified videos following the Pentagon's acknowledgement of the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, gained attention for its intriguing footage. In the video, an unidentified aircraft is seen moving at high speed and low altitude, with the recording captured by a US Navy FA-18 Super Hornet. Unfortunately, critical details such as the specific date and location of the encounter were removed by the Department of Defense during the release approval process. This video is the most credible alien evidence we have ever found.